It's been said before that our gatherings here and the stories that are told are like a chain that has no beginning and has no end. But like a chain, it has segments, those links which overlap but make a continuum. And as was said last week, we've begun another segment of that chain. And that segment is to do with our need to understand the workings of the laws of life in relationship to that overriding law, which is variously called the Tao, or the Dharma, or the will of God, or the purpose of life. Because when we look at those words, they're abstractions, but from our experience in this place where stillness and movement are present in our life, we know that what is enacted from that state or that place is something that's inviolable, that we cannot go against. So we can call it a law. It's also been said that from my experience in telling stories over many years, it's been discovered that the Sufis are those who have been able, in their fairy tales, their folk tales, their allegories, to encapsulate all of this, the workings of the laws and clear evidence of that overriding law. So perhaps those of us who've heard some of the stories before will see that there are patterns in them, certain symbols that recur, which fit in with the matrix of what it is that we have in our own life. And we do have them. In fact, they're in many persuasions. The demons, the ogres, the angels, the fairies, the witches. All of these are very evident and symbolic of that which we have within our own being. But to bring it together so that we do have an ability to be able to understand all of these workings in relationship to this one overriding law, as we can now call it, is something that's needed for us. Otherwise, as it said, we're going to be like one of those sadhus or masts walking around the streets of India with matted hair and disheveled clothes buttering. We have to know what we're about. So this is a Sufi story that has all of these elements in it. See what you can make of it yourself, resonating with the symbols rather than being caught in those fairy tale elements which are common to so many of the stories by different names. The demons, the devs, the ogres. They're in many, many different persuasions. Sufi story. There was a princess by the name of Aisha, a beautiful, gentle being, and she had in her possession a bird in a cage, a nightingale, kept in a beautiful aviary. Now, every night this nightingale would sing Princess Aisha to sleep. And in her sleep, oftentimes she would have a dream that she was in a beautiful place, a garden, where there was a palace. It was always the same place. But one night, when she lay down to sleep, she tossed and turned from side to side. She woke up in the middle of the night, went over to her bird in her cage, and said, "Bird, sing me a song that will lull me to sleep, so that I can perhaps go to this place, this garden that I know so well." But the bird began to speak, and she was quite taken aback. Never had her bird spoken to her in a human voice before. But it said, "All is not what it seems, and I cannot sing to you tonight because my heart is so sore. But take me from the cage and I'll tell you my story." So Aisha opened the door of the cage, and the bird came out and flew down on her hand and told her that he was in fact bewitched. He was a prince from a far distant realm, but had been cursed since youth to become a bird and caged. But, he said, there is a way that I can be brought back to my human form, and that is to bring back the powder which is in the possession of the demon who lives in a far-off place. Now, Aisha was very piqued because she would like to know what the human form of this bird would be. So she said, "Tell me, what is it that I have to do? I'll do it for you." And he said, "If you go into that place that is in your dream, you will be able to find your way to the palace of the demon. And under his bed there is a sack in which he keeps the powder that will restore all of those who have been bewitched and taken another form to be brought back to their original form." Tell me, said Aisha, "I'll go there." So the bird said, "I will sing you to sleep, and when you arrive at the place of your dream, you have to follow the road, cross the bridge until you come to the palace. And then when you enter the palace, you go in a glass door, which is the door of the bedroom of the demon. And there you'll find the sack with the powder." But just as Aisha was lying down to sleep and waiting for her bird to trill, the bird said, "But one thing I have to tell you. You must not eat or drink in this enchanted place, because if you do, you will not be able to find your way back, and I will be doomed." Aisha fell into sleep with the trilling of her nightingale. And when she was asleep,